We are talking about problem solving using your brain. If you want to skip ahead of this video, I have some drills at the end of it. If you actually want to learn what the heck is happening, stick around and we'll talk through it. So you might have heard of things like constraints-led approach, CLA, or other dynamical systems theories that revolve around your brain solving problems, specifically movement problems. And we'll talk about this here. And in simplicity, there are two kind of options through which you can try and solve a problem. Option number one is kind of the traditional approach. This is where, by the way, at all times, your brain is working in this. So your brain says, hey, I'm gonna do step one, step two, step three, and then I'm gonna have an outcome. You can think about this like building an IKEA dresser, right? You have all the parts and pieces in a box. You know all the resources you have. Your brain says, okay, I'm gonna look at the box, see what's inside, I'm gonna follow the instructions, and I'm gonna build said dresser. That's wonderful if you know exactly what is inside the box and you have all these steps to it. But the reality is our human body is much more complex than a box of parts that we just organize in order to build a dresser. There's so many degrees of freedom, your joints, the muscles, and how they all move. So the other option is you tell the brain, I want an outcome, and then the steps are what the brain figures out. So an example would be you have a box, and it's filled with stuff, but you don't have any instruction manual. You're just told with that stuff, go ahead and build a dresser. And when you do that, your body then says, okay, well, let me see. Okay, we have some screws, we have a hammer, we have, oh, I can use this piece, and it builds the dresser, but the steps it follows are not necessarily one-to-one in terms of what someone else might do, what the traditional instruction manual might say. It is an outcome-based process. You just need to make sure you build a dresser, and how you do that is up to you. There's a really fancy word for this. It's called equifinality. It means an equal final outcome, meaning you might have certain bits and pieces in your toolbox, and I might have certain ones, and so-and-so, but at the end of the day, we're all gonna have the equal outcome of building a dresser. So you might say, Max, how does this relate at all to anything about sport? And that's a great question. And we're gonna talk about that here in a second, and again, we'll have some videos at the end of this to describe it. So what you can think about here is, let me get rid of this. In a traditional setting, we have basketball player one. I like basketball, I play basketball. We're gonna have basketball examples. Basketball player one, dribbling basketball up and down. They might have some cones set up here, 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 and the coach might say, take 2 dribbles and do this. And they go over here and take 2 dribbles and do this, and do this. And the whole time the brain is like, okay, dribble, 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 move, dribble, 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 move, dribble, 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 move. What does that sound like? Option one. What I mean by that, it's step one, step two, step three, get the cone. Step one, step two, step three, get a cone. So we have taken this body and we have made it kind of like Mr. Robot here. Versus we say, okay, the only goal is, here's a cone, it's way over here, and we only get 1 dribble to get around that cone. I'm not gonna tell you how to do it. You just got 1 dribble to get around that cone. So this person dribbling a basketball, maybe they're not fast like me, and they throw the ball out in front and they run to it. Maybe they accelerate and they push their body to that cone. So what we can do as a coach, we can use our big brain knowledge as a coach, and we can influence the types of constraints we put on this drill to kind of force that big old brain of the athletes to problem solve. So what we're doing here is we give them an outcome, and we say, hey, you go and figure out how you do that outcome, but I'm not gonna tell you the process in which you do it, because I want you to understand your body. And this is exactly why all basketball players and athletes are unique into themselves, because their whole life they've had this, their body, and they say, okay, go and be successful at your sport. And then they kind of develop certain skill sets that feed back to their capabilities. It's our job as a coach to maybe push some of these skill sets further by giving them a further cone to run to, right? That might force acceleration. Or maybe they get to a cone and then they gotta change directions. That's forcing a certain type of ball handling. Many, many different variables. Maybe you'll see in one of the videos, we force them to look over in one direction here and then look back the other way to shoot a basketball, so we're messing with their vision, right? So this isn't just, isolated to specifically that of the muscular or neuromuscular system, but the body as a whole. So, my friends, when you go and watch these videos, you'll check them out. And I want you to think about this, because all the videos I'm going to show you are option 2 videos. Right? They are an outcome. And I say, hey, Max, go figure that out. And what you'll see is we'll have tons of variability. And how we shoot the ball. I spelled variability right now. Variability. I'm missing an L somewhere. I don't know, somewhere in ability. I can't see that for some reason. Wow, that's embarrassing. Outcome variability. And what you'll see is like I'll do the drill, right? I'll get to my cone and I'll run there and I'll get to my spot and shoot it. But maybe I shoot one type of shot this time, another type of shot this time, and another type of shot this time, because that had a lot of variability in how I got there. And what's happening is our brain has to constantly problem solve through it. So go check out the videos. I have them here and they're nice and voiced over. And you can try some of the drills and you yourself can mess around with it. But that's the general idea of brain problem solving, right? It's an outcomes-based approach. Some people call it constraints-led approach. You have a constraint and you can only take one dribble to get there and then you gotta do the move. Dynamical systems theory, ecological, blah, blah, blah. Don't get so caught up in that. The whole concept centers around the brain problem solving, trying to create an outcome based on the available resources it has and based on the task that you direct it to do. So, go check out the videos. Let me know what you think. Okay, so this first one here is with a Frisbee. The goal, catch a Frisbee. What is it forcing me to do? Accelerate and run as fast as I can. No, you're not thinking about step-by-step stuff. It is literally throw it and go get it. It's an external stimulus, but you'll see a bunch of natural variability because the Frisbee moves, the distance changes every time. It's an awesome way to problem solve with your acceleration. Here's one on the court. The idea is one dribble to get around that water bottle. We're starting at the same spot every time. And what you're going to see is depending on how the ball bounces and how it moves, I might have a different shot when I get to my position because, well, the variability of how I got there changes. This one's going downhill. And then what you'll see here is you can start to layer these drills together. So now you might be like, okay, let's get to the elbow downhill and then bounce out and shoot it. So now we're taking kind of the one dribble downhill into space and getting out. And this is really challenging my body control. And what you'll see here, which is pretty cool real time because I didn't plan this at all, is me trying to figure out different ways to get back to that water bottle. Do I want to bounce it out with my outside hand? Do I want to do a step back and pull it back? Again, your body is problem solving. Don't overcoach the drill. Then the last one is just eyes. Messing with my eyes, looking at a water bottle, and then turning back and shooting the ball as quickly as I can.